Okay, 5310, this is Dr. Brown. Welcome to the course. You've already picked up, hopefully, my intro video, and now I'm going to walk you through just some highlights of Chapter 1. I will do these chapter lectures in a similar format throughout the course, basically giving you some of my highlights, quick highlights from the chapter, like pay attention, and then dropping in some personal comments, things I've learned professionally or personally that apply to the course. So let's get started. Like I said, you should have already looked at the syllabus of core deliverables. This course moves quickly, basically one module a week, okay? And you are pioneers in the summer class as this course moves quickly, as you're going to go very quickly from theory and strategy to building out a brand in your final project for your own interest, a nonprofit, a small business, okay, and thinking about how do we combine this strategy, core of this course, plus writing and content creation, other core of this course as we go forward. So from chapter 1, okay, one thing you need to know is that the author of this text, right, Robin Blackman. Robin Blackman is an acquaintance of mine, partly because of where I did my PhD work at University of Tennessee at Knoxville. Okay, Robin Blackman, faculty member there, but like me, I came out of nonprofit marketing, promotion, fundraising, executive management. Blackman comes out of the advertising industry. Okay, so as a professor with some practical background like me, you're going to find a lot of her advertising background kind of filters through this text. Okay, so she's combining this advertising with classic integrated marketing, which is basically, even if you go to an ad agency, a PR agency, a social media, hire someone to do social media for you, they are using these concepts, okay, which makes some academics nervous, but they are using multiple concepts and multiple strategies from these classic silos and combining these together into an integrated marketing approach. We're going to talk a little bit about relationship and database marketing. We're going to talk about campaigns that you're going to see on page 4, a targeted campaign toward a particular audience, or the concept of a segmented audience, is strategic communication 101. Okay, so we take a same message and we craft or tune that message, okay, to a particular audience, and then we're going to do this in a way that that audience, put it in a place that the audience already lives or what they prefer. Okay, you'll see there in the text conversation of psychographics and demographics. Make sure that you look at those terms. We're going to be talking about those again. And the concept of relationship marketing, okay, which some say is kind of a dying breed. I say absolutely not. We're using digital marketing to enhance relationship marketing. We talk about concepts such as reach and frequency, and we'll even pull in some old advertising concepts like cost per million, right? How many times, how much does it cost for us to get our particular message, our strategic message, out to X audience, okay? And that used to be measured in advertising by cost per million. These days, we basically talk, if you're doing social media, you're basically talking about impressions, okay? So these are some of the core concepts in the early part of chapter 1. Now, there's some incorrect views kind of integrated marketing, but you need to know it is integrated, as I talked about a minute ago. You'll see that on page 6 and 7. And these campaigns tend to be integrated across multiple platforms or multiple instances in what you and I as consumers, okay, see. Okay. Now, some people think integrated marketing means social media plus something and that's it. Actually, integrated marketing is multi-channel, both digital, okay, we could even drop in AI, okay, digital, AI, person to person, stand up tent or booth or presentation, okay? And it's all these things all working together to get your organization, your brand, your nonprofit, your stand up small business message out. Okay, so what drives integrated marketing communication? There's lots of ways to look at this, and I come from a PR background. That I was classic PR, and I still believe in some of the core principles of public relations. But over time, I've begun to pull in some of these concepts from advertising and marketing. But still, the formula is the same. We start with research. This is where a lot of people fail. They start out and say, we're going to do a social media campaign, and we're going to get this, we're going to boost, we're going to get an influencer, we're going to get so many people looking at our product, it's just going to go viral, okay? That often happens, but it sometimes happens, but it seldom happens without research of a product. You got to know your product. You have to know your audience. Another thing you got to do is you got to know your competitors, okay? So the research is the baseline of any good campaign. We add strategy, okay? Strategy can include theory. We're grad students. We're going to talk about theory in here. Why people do certain things. Why do they respond? Why do they do things on social media? Why do they think a certain way? How do they process persuasive messages, okay? We talk about relationships, branding, actually creating the content, putting it out there for people to see, and then an evaluation cycle. This goes in several different ways or ways to build a campaign, but we always start with research and strategy, right? And then we build some kind of content, and then we do an evaluation. When I was in PR, doing this as an undergrad and a grad student, and my master's level as you are, okay, I often used what was called the rope formula. Same thing. Research, objectives, okay. Programming, that's your content creation, your writing, your content creation, and evaluation. But we always start with research. Now, I want to stop for a second and give you a personal story. This is a COVID story, as many of you have COVID stories, and I'm watching the clock here, so I'll try to keep this brief. During COVID, my partner and I, my wife and I, we watched way too much YouTube and movies and things. We were stuck, right? Many of you were as well. One of the things we started watching that pulled from my upbringing background, I grew up around cars. I grew up part of my time working on a working cattle operation, cars and equipment. Okay, during COVID, I found this renewed interest in working on old cars, and I started following a couple of influencers, okay, on YouTube. One of those I started following was, and this is in no way an advertisement or endorsement, it's just one of an example of many. The Vice Grip Garage channel, this guy and his wife and his kids working on those cars. They're finding them, fixing them, flipping them. Lots of good content, entertaining, okay? But one of the sponsors, okay, of this particular channel was O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly is heavily saturated, well marketed in the U.S., okay? Is kind of a discount auto parts retailer, online, brick and mortar, okay? And I don't care where you live in Texas or Southeast or Midwest, okay? There's an O'Reilly around somewhere. And we split our time between Texas and Tennessee. There are multiple in the towns that we split our times with. Okay, so as I started watching this, and maybe as you started watching content or a particular influencer, Google and the social media and YouTube started building a database on me, and I started to get advertisements for O'Reilly's, not just internally from the content creator and from the 30 to hour long YouTube videos I was watching, okay? But also, it showed up in my Google search bar. It showed up in my Instagram and Facebook. It showed up in sidebar ads in Google, okay? But literally during COVID, I became so interested in kind of this thing I'd grown up around that I started doing some basic car maintenance again by myself, okay? And here you go. It became a habit. Through this influencer sponsor, I became quite loyal. Really, I don't go anywhere else. If I'm going to order a part online or I'm going to need something immediately, I go to O'Reilly's. Now, they're not necessarily cheaper one than the other, but their marketing was good enough that I followed this influencer into a particular retail outlet. Now, you have stories like this too, right? That some integrated campaign, and these days it often comes out of influencers like I'm sharing, helped shape your view of a particular product, good, or service, okay? Integrated marketing, right? It didn't hit you just on one channel. It often brought those advertising and marketing messages to multiple places, to multiple touch points from a very integrated approach. Now, as I close this up, about to finish up here, talk a little bit about what drives integrated marketing communication. Look at what Blakeman's going to say about the 7 pieces of an outline, social influencers, and database, of course. But this back-end database that now retailers can purchase tells them a lot about their audience. So you can look at some of the highlights that Blakeman's going to give in the end of this chapter as a preview of the rest of the text, okay? And we are going to talk about some of these brands and branding in the next couple of chapters. I just wanted to bring to your attention, there is a nice case in chapter 1 of a very famous case. It's in lots of textbooks, and it's a multinational conglomerate brand, Nivea. I encourage you to take a look at this, as this brand that traditionally was marketed to a particular demographic, they tried to break into a new market. So look at how they did this and see what you think. So there's an overview just given of chapter 1. Look at the strategy and tactics at the end of the chapter. Think about what we're considering overall. This is a good text. It gives us a springboard for us to look at the content that we want to. Again, right? What are we thinking about? We're thinking about in this class, what are the strategies, the theories, the concepts, what research can we do, okay, to help us then craft great content for products, goods, and services that we may represent. That's what this class is about. It's the core, one of the core things for you to think about as you approach 5310, and as you start thinking not just about the final project for this class, but for whether you go thesis or applied project for your master's degree. Hey, this is Dr. Brown. Hope this overview is helpful. I look forward to hearing from you as we go back and forth through this summer term. Thanks.